I'm Donna Zeiderweg. I'm the Chief Community Engagement Officer here at Columbus Metropolitan Library, and it is my pleasure to welcome you to our downtown main library, beautiful downtown main library. We are always thrilled to use this incredible civic space for city events like this, so thank you for everyone for being here today. I'd like to congratulate the mayor on his re-election on Tuesday. Yeah. We are also very grateful that voters on Tuesday recognized the value of a strong library system and chose to invest further in the work we do to inspire reading, share resources, and connect people. This year thank you. Yes, that deserves applause. This year we've been celebrating 150 years of supporting our community, and we are so excited to continue to be a space where everyone is welcome and they have the access to the resources that they need. Special thanks to Mayor Ginther for his support of our digital equity initiatives and our aspirational building plan, which is allowing us to re-envision the way our branches respond and serve each neighborhood. So thank you. And now, without further ado, the Honorable Mayor of the City of Columbus, Andy Ginther.
Thanks, Tom. Good morning. What a great morning here in the city of Columbus. Donna, thank you so much to you and Pat and your incredible team here at the library. We were super excited that voters came out and supported an incredible library system. And we're going to talk a little bit later in this budget announcement about some of the great ideas we've taken from you, borrowed from you about equity-based budgeting and some of the great work that you're doing in neighborhoods throughout our city. So thank you to Director Owens and the Department of Finance and Management, to all of our departments and staff. Just so grateful for everybody's work and support. I want to thank the entire Department of Finance and Management. A lot of people see this budget and think that it just kind of comes about, out of thin air sometime in November. And Director Owens and her team have been working on this for months, and we really appreciate all the work that you've done and all your partnership. Auditor Kilgore and her team. It requires extensive collaboration to make this happen. This team makes it look easy, despite the scale and complexity of the task at hand, and we wouldn't be where we are today without your leadership and hard work. So thank you. Neighbors, I am excited to join you this morning to present the largest operating budget in city history, totaling $1.19 billion. It's a balanced budget, too, representing the third consecutive year we prepared a general fund budget exceeding $1 billion. But know that larger budgets don't come at the expense of fiscal responsibility. The 2024 operating budget that I'm proposing here today carves out $2.75 million for the city's rainy day fund, bringing its total to over $101 million by the end of next year. Budgets embody our values. As the old saying goes, don't tell me your priorities, show me your budget, and I'll tell you your priorities. This budget allows us to make transformative investments that deliver vital programs and services to the people of Columbus. Our success in building up our local economy and creating tens of thousands of jobs, new high-paying jobs, have helped to fortify our revenue stream and offset the economic disruptions stemming from the pandemic and remote work legislation in the State House. At the same time, we remain purposeful and intentional in addressing the specific needs of specific neighborhoods that have not shared in the rest of our community's success. Disparities rooted in race and class and education and upward mobility, or lack thereof, have taken their toll. Their legacies are far too often inherited and perpetuated, with social forces and global events serving as catalysts that extend and intensify their harmful effects. I'm talking about redlining, historic disinvestment, disparities in health, longevity, and infant vitality, the digital divide. It is incumbent upon each of us here and now to hold ourselves accountable, to right the wrongs of our collective past, and to build a blueprint by which future generations will overcome systemic challenges and create better lives for themselves and their families. This is equity in action. I want Columbus to become the safest big city in America. But first, we must continue to equip our first responders with the tools and resources they need to do their jobs, protect our families, keep our city safe. 63% of this budget, or $753 million, is specifically dedicated to improving neighborhood safety. This includes almost $12 million for 3 new police and fire recruit classes, which will add up to 150 new officers and 10 lateral transfers to the Division of Police, along with 150 new firefighters to the Division of Fire. In fact, by the end of next year, we expect to have more police officers in the city of Columbus than we've ever had before in city history. That's truly incredible progress as you look nationally at the challenges cities have hired in hiring new police officers. We're also devoting more than $400,000 to continue standing up Zone 6, the new patrol zone that Police Chief Bryant created at the start of this year to improve efficiencies and response times throughout the entire city. So Zone 6 covers portions of Linden, King Lincoln, Bronzeville, Mount Vernon, Eastgate, Milo Grogan, and other neighborhoods that have experienced notable challenges related to safety and security in recent years. Again, by approaching these issues through a lens of equity, we're better able to deliver on improvements in certain parts of town that have faced unique challenges and empower our neighbors in those areas to lead happier, healthier, and more fulfilling lives. All of this enhances our comprehensive neighborhood safety strategy, which utilizes prevention, intervention, and enforcement to bring down violent crime and connect our residents with the support and services they need. I'm pleased with the results we've achieved so far. CPD is removing more guns from our streets than ever before. They're receiving more crime tips from the community than ever before. And our case closure rate is now consistently at or above 90%. But there's still more work to be done. That's why we're continuing to invest new resources in proven programs and strategies that have shown great success. Nearly $1.3 million in this budget will strengthen the efforts of our officers, detectives, and forensic analysts through the addition of new staff and software aimed at improving criminal investigations. I'm proposing $4.5 million for the Office of Violence Prevention, which we formed earlier this year. Also known as OVP, it's working to gather and analyze data from a variety of sources to disrupt the cycle of violence. Prevention, intervention, and enforcement. That's how we make all of our neighborhoods and our neighbors safer. We're allocating a total of $2.5 million to bolster the Right Response Unit with additional staff and technology. This overall investment will expand our capacity to properly handle and redirect calls for service that do not require a police presence, connecting residents with the mental health and social services that are best suited to address their particular situations, while freeing up our officers to focus their efforts on reducing violent crime in neighborhoods. And we've earmarked $21 million in this budget for programming to keep our young people safe, active, and engaged, steering them toward productive activities like camps, classes, internships, and after-school programming. But we aren't just committed to making Columbus neighborhoods safer. We're also committed to making them more affordable. Our community is blessed by many strengths: record numbers of new jobs, historic population growth, rising interest from top-tier companies both across the nation and around the world, and our ability to meet the manufacturing and workforce needs of the future. But we just don't want to grow for the sake of growth. We want to grow equitably. We don't just want to be bigger, we want to be better. Housing is one of the central issues of our time. While our city and our region continue to grow at an impressive pace, the construction of new housing has not kept up with demand. That's why I've called on the region to double the number of units coming to market every year for the next 15 years at every price point. Columbus is leading by example. We launched the Columbus Housing Strategy, the goal of which is to ensure that no resident spends more than 30% of their income to live in safe housing in a neighborhood of their choice. We're also continuing to invest the nearly $250 million in voter-approved bond funding that we secured in recent years to support and expand the construction of affordable homes citywide. This budget includes $2 million in new funding to expand by nearly a dozen the number of staff who are solely focused on carrying out these plans. A terrific example of the results these dollars have delivered is right outside this window. Topiary Park Crossing, which opened last month after receiving a total of $7 million in bond funding. This beautiful new complex offers nearly 100 units for residents at 60, 80, and 100% of area median income. That means that households earning just under $43,000 a year can afford to call Topiary Park Crossing home, expanding housing options for the folks who work in our city, like firefighters, teachers, and nurses. We're also dedicating $250,000 to provide homebuyer education and counseling for residents. There's $600,000 for the Financial Empowerment Center to provide one-on-one financial counseling for all Columbus area adults who need help learning how to open a bank account, improve their credit scores, and build up their savings. And there's $10 million for human services grants that will go to 112 community nonprofits dedicated to assisting our city's most vulnerable residents with meeting their most basic needs, including housing. Affordability touches on virtually every aspect of society, including owning or starting a business. Unfortunately, certain communities, women, veterans, people of color, continue to face unique obstacles in that regard. I'm proud that this budget lays out $1 million to expand funding for the Small Business Fund, which targets support among these incredible entrepreneurs and improves their ability to access capital, expertise, and new investments for their businesses. Meanwhile, we've tagged $450,000 for the Office of Diversity and Inclusion to continuing powering small businesses with services and information, which will lead to more city contracting and procurement opportunities for these businesses. Taking a broad and holistic view of affordability, it's how you lift up our neighbors who haven't always shared in Columbus's success. It's also how you sustain the progress and momentum we've achieved as a city. This is equity in action. Strong and reliable city services remain the cornerstone of any effective local government. And this operating budget sees to it that we're able to continue to provide the high-quality services our residents have come to expect. We've outlined $10.9 million to maintain the city's weekly recycling program, which we kicked off this year and has been met with overwhelming praise. We've also expanded refuse collection to include hotspot inspections for illegal dumping, continued to replace the 300-gallon curb containers with the 90-gallon versions at the request of the community, and hired more drivers for both refuse trucks and snow removal. And we opened 2 convenience centers for neighbors to properly dispose of those harder to recycle items: food waste for compost, hazardous waste, and bulk items. $1.3 million is being allocated to keep these fantastic new facilities up and running and to send a clear message to our neighborhoods. We are not dumping grounds, and this city stands with you in fighting back against illegal dumping. To that end, this budget provides funding for 5 new full-time positions at the city's impound lot, further bolstering capacity and capabilities there. We're tired, and so are the people of Columbus, seeing junk cars abandoned in our neighborhoods. They're a blight, they're a nuisance, and they have a way of becoming hotbeds for dangerous criminal behavior. Illegal dumping and junk cars. These are 2 examples of how tackling near universal issues can have outsized impacts in neighborhoods where signs of disorder and disarray have festered for far too long. My top 3 priorities remain, as they always have been: neighborhoods, neighborhoods, neighborhoods. By embracing continuous improvement and listening to the voices and concerns of the community, we will remain nimble and responsive to the needs of all of our residents, while going the extra mile for our fellow neighbors who face heavier burdens and higher barriers to prosperity. This is equity in action. But our work is just getting started. We're in the process now of rolling out a fully fledged equity-based budgeting model for our next capital budget, working with the library system and their team and others in the community who have helped develop their approach. We'll be closely measuring and tracking our progress as we go, publishing a dashboard depicting where and how we'll be deploying our investments, especially in and among those neighborhoods that haven't shared in the rest of our city's good fortune. In a robust economy, this type of model will serve as a framework for new and enhanced investments. During lean or difficult financial times, it'll serve as a useful tool for protecting the most vulnerable in the community. We've been through a lot of these the last few years, so much that has come our way. The recommendations of the Recovery and Resiliency Advisory Committee have been critical in guiding us as we build a recovery that is more dynamic and inclusive than the one we experienced coming out of the Great Recession. As many of you know, there are folks that lost a great deal during the Great Recession, and they had finally recovered and gotten back to where they were when the pandemic happened. And now they're back at least 15 years in savings and financial security, in ownership, in power. We wanted to take a different approach, and that's why the Recovery and Resiliency Advisory Committee was so important. So whether it was our ARPA dollars, our CARES dollars, additional investments we made with the budget, it has all been through that lens of equity to make sure that this recovery included everybody. My equity agenda, Opportunity Rising, will also continue to serve as our North Star as we move this work forward. We have a special obligation to do all that we can to lift up our neighbors who have been hit hardest by the inequities and injustices in our society. And by embracing equity-based budgets as our new template for all future budgets, we will more fully and fairly elevate our community's greatest assets, our people, and the neighborhoods they call home. Thank you all for joining us here this morning. Thanks again to the library and the finance and budget team for all of your hard work and all of our departments. Really excited about the proposed budget we're sharing this morning, and would be happy to take any questions from the press about the budget.
Mayor, are these 3 additional classes for both police and fire permanent, or is it just for this budget year? Are these 3 additional classes for both police and fire permanent, or is it just for this budget year? Are we going to set the number of classes additional for every year moving forward, or just this year?
I think we do budgets 1 year at a time, and it's based on revenue available that's made to us by the auditor. So it's just for this year. But if you look at the last several years, we've been very consistent that investing in more officers and firefighters is critical. I think we already have more firefighters than we've ever had before in the city's history, and by the end of next year, we'll have more officers.
Additional class, 2 years ago? So that's why I'm wondering if that's a continued promise from you for the city to have those additional classes moving forward every year.
We're committed to having as many police and fire classes as we can afford every year into the future, as long as I'm the mayor. Any other questions from the press? Thank you all for being here this morning. Thanks to all the directors and Director Owens and her team and Ken Paul and everybody in the mayor's office has been working so hard on this. Appreciate you all. Have a great day.